The battle lines are drawn, loyalties are tested, and secrets can no longer remain buried. Outlander, Blood of My Blood Episode 8 is shaping up to be the turning point that will either save the Mackenzie clan or destroy it forever. What began as whispers of forbidden love and political ambition has now exploded into a storm of betrayal, rebellion, and deadly schemes. Episode 7 left us breathless, but Episode 8 promises to push every character to their breaking point, forcing them to make choices that will echo through generations. The story of Blood of My Blood has never been just about love, it has always been about power. But in Episode 8, the fragile balance between personal desire and political responsibility completely unravels. At the heart of this storm are Brian and Ellen, whose forbidden bond has already shaken the clan. Their love, once a private matter, has now become the weapon their enemies will use to bring them down. The confrontation between Myrt and Brian in the previous episode becomes the emotional trigger that sets everything in motion. Myrt's pain is real, his sense of betrayal cutting deeper than any blade. He had always stood by Brian as a brother, trusting him without question. But discovering Brian's secret with Ellen shattered that trust, leaving him torn between his loyalty to family and his own sense of honor. In Episode 8, this wound does not heal, it festers. Myrt may have chosen to stand by Brian and Ellen for now, but the choice carries a heavy price. He has thrown himself into a dangerous game where loyalty could cost him his life. Meanwhile, Ellen finds herself trapped in a tightening net of political schemes. Dual's reckless decision to pledge support to the Jacobite rebellion has already placed the clan's survival in jeopardy. His promise of fortune to the uprising binds them to a cause that could either bring glory or total ruin. Colum, ever the cautious leader, senses the danger and fears that Dual's ambition will lead the Mackenzies to destruction. This clash of visions, Dual's boldness versus Colum's fear, splits the clan into factions, leaving Ellen in the middle, desperately trying to protect both her family's legacy and her own secret with Brian. But the danger isn't only within the clan. Lord Lovat, a man known for his cunning, has already played his hand in the shadows. He has no loyalty but to himself, and his letter to Malcolm Grant reveals his true power, the ability to manipulate enemies into striking at exactly the right moment. Ellen and Brian's relationship is no longer their own private sin, it has become ammunition in a much larger war. Every careless whisper, every glance shared in public, now feeds into Lovat's schemes. Ellen's greatest fear is coming true, the love that gave her strength may be the very thing that destroys her. This leads directly into the darkest moment yet, Ellen's impending trial. The purity trial is not just a cruel test of her character, but a weapon designed to break her spirit and strip her of all protection. It is both personal and political. If she fails, she will not only be shamed and cast out, but her entire family will be disgraced. The Mackenzies could lose all standing, leaving them vulnerable to their enemies. Brian knows this, and the weight of responsibility now falls on his shoulders. How far will he go to save Ellen? And more importantly, will his choices make him a hero, or doom them both? On the other side of this tangled web, Henry continues his desperate struggle. He had hoped to escape this time and leave behind the chaos of clan politics. But fate binds him tighter with each step. Julia's discovery that Henry is still alive changes everything. Their love story, thought buried under years of pain and duty, begins to resurface. Yet Julia is now bound to Lord Lovat, a man who sees power and bloodlines as tools to be shaped to his will. For Henry, winning Julia back is no longer just about love, it is about survival. Lord Lovat's ambition is ruthless. His plan to raise Julia's son as the future ruler of Scotland is more than a dream, it is a calculated strategy to extend his influence beyond his own lifetime. But this dream comes at a terrible cost. For Julia and Henry, it means facing the possibility of losing their child forever. Episode 8 will drag them into a heart-wrenching choice: remain silent and watch their son become a pawn in Lovat's schemes, or fight back and risk tearing their family apart. What makes this moment so gripping is that every thread in the story is pulling tighter at once. Ellen's trial threatens her family's honor, Brian faces impossible decisions to protect her, Dual's alliance with the Jacobites endangers the clan's future, Myrt wrestles with betrayal and loyalty, and Henry and Julia are drawn into a dangerous dance with Lovat's power. Each of these conflicts is like a spark, and together they are building toward an explosion. Episode 8 is not just another chapter, it is the reckoning. The characters we have followed so far will face the consequences of every choice they have made, and the outcome will shape the finale in ways no one can yet predict. Betrayal, rebellion, love, and sacrifice, all of it collides here, in an episode that promises to leave audiences stunned and breathless. The heart of Episode 8 is not just the Jacobite cause or Lord Lovat's schemes, it is Ellen's trial. The so-called purity trial is not a test of truth, but a public stage designed to humiliate, crush, and destroy. It is a weapon disguised as justice, meant to strip Ellen of her dignity while striking at the very soul of the Mackenzie clan. Her enemies know that if she falls, Brian will crumble with her, and the clan will fracture beyond repair. This trial is more than just a test of her innocence, it is a calculated attack on everything she represents. Ellen is not only a woman in love with Brian, she is a Mackenzie, a symbol of loyalty, lineage, and honor. To accuse her is to challenge the very integrity of her bloodline. Lord Lovat, who pulls the strings from the shadows, understands this perfectly. His letter to Malcolm Grant was only the first step. Now he wants to see Ellen disgraced in the eyes of everyone who once stood beside her. For him, it is not just about politics. It is about domination. Breaking Ellen is a way of proving that no heart, no spirit, no clan is beyond his reach. Brian, standing on the edges of this storm, faces the impossible. He knows Ellen is innocent in the eyes of love but guilty in the eyes of tradition. To defend her openly would be to confess their bond, and in doing so, give their enemies exactly what they want. To remain silent, however, would be to abandon her to cruelty. Brian is torn between honor and love, and for the first time, he cannot protect both. The trial forces him to choose what kind of man he will be. Will he step into the light, claiming Ellen as his own, or will he keep their love hidden in the shadows, hoping to preserve the clan's fragile balance? Either choice is a sacrifice, and either choice could lead to ruin. Myrt's role here becomes even more complicated. Though he had once felt betrayed by Brian, he now sees Ellen's suffering and feels his anger give way to fierce loyalty. In the quiet of his heart, he knows he cannot stand by while she is destroyed. Episode 8 tests him as much as it tests Brian. Will Myrt stand as a shield, risking his life to protect them, or will the weight of his broken trust stop him from acting when they need him most? The drama of this moment lies not in swords or bloodshed, but in loyalty, love, and the impossible choices that define true honor. Meanwhile, the political chaos grows louder around the trial. Dual, emboldened by his pledge to the Jacobites, sees Ellen's struggle as an opportunity. If she falls, he believes he can tighten his grip on the clan by presenting himself as the bold and decisive leader willing to guide them through rebellion. He sees himself as the future, the one willing to gamble everything for Scotland's cause. But Colum, filled with dread, sees only disaster in Dual's ambition. The two brothers clash in ways that rip the clan apart. One promises glory, the other fears ruin, and Ellen becomes the unwilling symbol of their divide. Every decision about her fate becomes a decision about the clan's destiny. The emotional stakes are staggering. Every whisper in the hall, every glance cast during the trial carries the weight of centuries of tradition and pride. Ellen knows she is walking into a battle she cannot win with logic or truth. This is a battle of perception, where her enemies want her to appear weak, sinful, and unworthy. But Ellen has always been stronger than anyone realizes. Even as the walls close in, her spirit burns. She will not bow easily, and her refusal to break becomes a quiet act of rebellion in itself. The audience will feel the tension in every breath she takes, every word she speaks, because in this moment, Ellen is fighting not just for herself, but for her family, her love, and her clan's honor. Beyond the trial, the storm of rebellion grows darker. The Jacobite cause is no longer just a whisper of possibility, it is becoming reality. Dual's fortune has bound the Mackenzies to the uprising, whether they like it or not. The clan's future is tied to a cause that may demand their lives. Column's fear is not just personal cowardice, it is a clear understanding of the risks. To stand with the Jacobites is to stand against the crown, and the price of failure would be execution, exile, or worse. Ellen, in the midst of her own suffering, sees this truth. She understands that her trial is not just about her purity, it is about whether the McKenzies can survive the storm of rebellion at all. And then there is Lord Lovat. His schemes stretch far beyond the walls of the trial. For him, every outcome is a victory. If Ellen is broken, the McKenzies are weakened, and he can assert control. If Brian reveals their love, the scandal itself becomes another weapon. And while the McKenzies tear themselves apart, Lovat positions himself to rise above the ashes. His marriage to Julia, his claim over her son, his ties to Malcolm Grant, all of it paints a chilling picture of a man who sees human lives as pawns in his game. His presence lingers like a shadow over every moment of episode 8. Henry and Julia's story threads into this darkness with heartbreaking intensity. Their love, rekindled by fate, collides with Lovat's ruthless ambition. Julia, torn between her duty as a wife and her love for Henry, realizes that her son's future is not hers to control. Lovat sees her child as his legacy, and he will not let go easily. For Henry, this realization cuts deeper than any wound. To love Julia means accepting that their family may be torn apart. To fight for her means going against one of the most dangerous men in Scotland. Episode 8 pushes Henry into a corner where every choice is a sacrifice, every path leads to suffering. The brilliance of this episode lies in the way all these threads converge. Ellen's trial, Brian's choices, Myrt's loyalty, Dual's ambition, Colum's fear, Lovat's schemes, Julia's pain, and Henry's desperation all collide in a storm of politics and passion. There are no easy answers, no safe paths forward. Every character is caught in a web that tightens with every move, and as the trial reaches its peak, the audience will be left breathless, knowing that the finale will bring consequences no one can escape. The further we move into episode 8, the more it becomes clear that the true danger is not only the trial itself but the secrets that everyone carries. Secrets in this world are like blades hidden beneath cloaks, they can protect, but once revealed, they cut deeply. For Brian and Ellen, their love has already become a weapon wielded by their enemies. But they are not the only ones whose hidden truths threaten to explode into the open. Every major character in this story holds something back, and in this episode, those secrets begin to unravel. Brian is torn apart by guilt. The guilt of loving Ellen in defiance of tradition, the guilt of betraying Myrt's trust, and the guilt of dragging his clan into a scandal that could destroy them. His love for Ellen is pure, but purity means nothing when weighed against the cold reality of clan politics. Brian is faced with the brutal truth: he cannot protect Ellen with silence, yet speaking the truth will only give their enemies the power to destroy them both. This tension builds throughout the episode, every word he utters heavy with the fear that one slip could cost Ellen her life. The audience feels the strain in every moment, as Brian becomes a man caught between two deaths, losing Ellen or losing everything he has sworn to protect. Ellen herself bears her secret with a strength that borders on defiance. She knows that the trial is unfair, that her fate has been twisted into a weapon of power games. But she also knows that showing fear will only feed her enemies. Ellen is clever enough to see how every faction around her is using her pain to serve their own ends: Dual's ambition, Colum's caution, Lovat's schemes, even Brian's desperate love. Yet she refuses to break. Her silence, her refusal to bow, becomes a weapon in its own right. And in those moments, Ellen is more than a victim, she is a force, someone willing to carry her family's shame if it means preserving their honor. Myrt, who once stood against Brian, now finds himself becoming a silent guardian. He watches Ellen's suffering with eyes that burn with both regret and loyalty. His secret is his own heart, torn between the love he still carries for her and the duty he feels toward Brian. To reveal his feelings now would destroy everything, but to bury them means living with a wound that never heals. Myrt's struggle in episode 8 is not about words or actions, it is about the silent choices he makes in the shadows. He stands ready, not for recognition, but because he cannot allow Ellen to fall while he lives. It is a loyalty born from love and betrayal alike, and it makes him one of the most tragic figures in this story. But the secrets stretch far beyond these three. Henry's survival is itself a secret that changes the game entirely. To the world, he was dead, a memory buried in the tides of history. Now he stands alive, a man pulled back into a world that has already moved on without him. Julia knows the truth, and the knowledge shakes her to her core. Her heart still belongs to Henry, yet her life belongs to Lord Lovat. This duality becomes her curse. She lives one life in public, another in secret, and every stolen glance, every whispered word threatens to expose her. For Julia, love is no longer freedom, it is a prison. And then there is Lovat himself, the spider at the center of this web. His power comes not from strength of arms but from secrets he collects and wields like daggers. He knows about Ellen and Brian. He controls Julia through her son. He manipulates Malcolm Grant into becoming a weapon against the McKenzies. Every scheme he devises is built on the knowledge that people fear their own truths coming to light. Lovat thrives on silence, on shadows, on the terror of exposure. He does not need to lift a sword to destroy his enemies, he only needs to speak at the right moment. Episode 8 shows us just how dangerous a man like him can be, because in a world full of warriors, he wins by never entering the battlefield at all. Dual's secret is his recklessness. To the clan, he presents himself as the man of action, the one brave enough to bind their fortune to the Jacobite cause. But deep inside, he hides the fear that his gamble might destroy them all. He covers this fear with bluster and bravado, never admitting weakness, never showing doubt. But the weight of that hidden fear leaks through in moments of silence, in the cracks of his confidence. If he were to admit the truth, that he has no control over the storm he has unleashed, it would shatter his authority. And so he doubles down, pressing forward with reckless certainty, dragging everyone with him into a rebellion that cannot be undone. Colum, on the other hand, keeps his fear quiet. His secret is not recklessness, but doubt. He sees what others refuse to see, that the rebellion could end in blood and ruin. He hides this doubt behind reason, behind careful words and subtle warnings, but inside, he fears he has already lost control. Colum's silence is different from Ellen's defiance or Brian's guilt. It is the silence of a man who knows the storm is coming and no longer believes he can stop it. His secret is hopelessness, and it weighs heavier than any sword. What makes episode 8 so powerful is the way these secrets collide. In the trial, in the council, in the private chambers where whispered words cut deeper than blades, every character carries their burden. And as the episode unfolds, the truth becomes clear: these secrets cannot remain hidden forever. The trial is only the beginning. Lovat's schemes, the Jacobite cause, Brian and Ellen's forbidden love, Julia's divided heart, Henry's return, each secret is a spark, and together they ignite a fire that will burn through the finale. The storm has not yet broken, but the sky is darkening. Episode 8 is the last breath before the plunge, the final moment when secrets still protect instead of destroy. Once the truth spills out, there will be no turning back. The finale will not be about whispers or hidden glances, it will be about survival. And as the weight of these secrets presses down on every character, the audience can feel the tension building, knowing that the next steps will change everything. By the time episode 8 reaches its final act, it is no longer just a story about love, betrayal, or politics, it becomes a reckoning. Every thread of the narrative, every secret carried in silence, every choice delayed until now, collides with brutal force. This is the moment where alliances are tested, enemies reveal their true faces, and fate begins to carve its path toward the finale. Ellen's trial stands at the center of this reckoning. What began as an attempt to disgrace her becomes something far greater, a symbol of everything at stake. To her enemies, the trial is proof that she is unworthy, that the McKenzies are weak, divided, and vulnerable. But to Ellen, and to those who love her, it is the ultimate test of strength. Her refusal to bow under the weight of shame transforms the trial into an act of defiance. Even as false witnesses and twisted words are hurled against her, Ellen does not break. Her courage becomes a rallying point, a spark of hope in a moment designed to crush her spirit. But courage alone cannot erase the danger. The verdict of this trial has the power to shatter her family, and the shadows of Lovat's schemes loom large over every word spoken. Brian, unable to bear the sight of Ellen's suffering, finds himself pushed to the edge. The weight of silence becomes unbearable. Every instinct tells him to confess, to claim Ellen as his own and tear down the walls of hypocrisy surrounding them. Yet he knows that to do so would give their enemies the scandal they hunger for. Episode 8 traps Brian in this impossible choice, and the audience feels the torment with him. His love for Ellen burns brightly, but in this moment, love is not enough. He must decide if he will risk everything for her, or if he will fight in silence, carrying the burden of their bond into the darkness. Either way, the cost will be devastating. Myrt's silent loyalty becomes crucial here. While Brian wrestles with his heart, Myrt steps into the role of protector, even at great personal risk. His transformation, from a man broken by betrayal to one who shields the very people who hurt him, is one of the most moving arcs of the episode. His loyalty is not loud, not declared with speeches or grand gestures, but felt in the way he positions himself at Ellen's side, the way he refuses to let her stand alone. Myrt embodies the quiet strength that love, even wounded love, can inspire. But loyalty has a price, and Myrt's choice to stand with them makes him a target in the same game of shadows that has already ensnared Ellen and Brian. Meanwhile, the Jacobite storm gathers outside the trial. Duhal's reckless promises to fund the uprising have already bound the McKenzies to rebellion, and now the clan teeters on the edge of destruction. The trial is no longer only about Ellen, it becomes a reflection of the clan's fate. If she falls, the McKenzies fall with her. If she stands, they may yet have a chance to survive. Colum, burdened by fear and foresight, sees the cliff before them, but his voice is drowned out by the cries of those who believe glory awaits. The rebellion is no longer a choice, it is a chain, dragging them all toward a future none can escape. Lord Lovat, ever the master of shadows, plays his part with chilling precision. He has engineered this chaos with deliberate calculation, ensuring that no matter the outcome, his power grows. If Ellen is disgraced, he weakens the McKenzies. If Brian confesses, he fuels scandal. If the Jacobites rise, he positions himself to profit from the storm. And in Julia, he holds his cruelest victory. By binding her through marriage and laying claim to her son, he has created a legacy that even death cannot undo. His schemes reach beyond the present into the future, weaving a web that traps not only his enemies but his own family as well. Henry and Julia's story in episode 8 becomes a quiet tragedy against this backdrop of rebellion and trial. Their love, rekindled by fate, is shadowed by the knowledge that they may never be free. Julia's son, caught in Lovat's grasp, stands as both a beacon of hope and a chain of bondage. For Henry, every step closer to Julia is also a step closer to losing the child they both love. Their reunion is not sweet, it is bitter, haunted by sacrifice. And as the episode closes, the audience realizes that their love story is not one of freedom but of endurance, of holding on even as the world conspires to tear them apart. The brilliance of episode 8 lies in the way it leaves nothing resolved, only sharpened. Ellen survives the trial, for now, but her survival carries consequences. Brian's silence, Myrt's loyalty, Duhal's ambition, Colum's dread, Lovat's schemes, Julia's pain, and Henry's return all build to a breaking point that can no longer be delayed. Every choice made in this episode points toward the finale, where all debts will come due. The reckoning of episode 8 is not the end, it is the beginning of the final descent. The characters we love are standing on the edge of a cliff, their fates hanging by a thread, their secrets ready to burst into the open. Love, loyalty, betrayal, and rebellion have collided, and the only certainty is that the finale will demand a price none of them are ready to pay.